let's jump into it. Nice to meet everyone. I'm Melissa. I'm the head of marketing here at Opsera, and I want to welcome you to our DevSecOps webinar and for secure coding best practices across your software development lifecycle. Your amazing host today will be Vishnu. And yeah, the floor is yours, Vishnu. Take it away. I'll let you jump into sharing.
Thank you, Alicia. Welcome everyone to the webinar. And like today, as Alicia mentioned, we're going to talk about like enforce secure coding best practice across your software development lifecycle. Oh, like it's big, right? Yeah, let's keep it as like secure software development lifecycle, SDLC. That is where the market is moving towards. So what do you mean by secure software development lifecycle? Before I get into that, let me introduce myself first. I'm Vishnu Vasudevan. I head the product here with Opsera, been in Opsera since inception as a founding member of the company here. Been in DevOps practice like last 10, 12 years, building private cloud DevOps practices and being part of like a lot of DevOps community as an advisor, as an ambassador, and also an influencer. So like I interact with a lot of people and like on the DevOps practices, and DevOps is like kind of a buzzword now, DevSecOps, where like industry wants to automate a lot of things with respect to the SDLC, secure software development lifecycle, right? Like because let me share my screen. Apologize, I thought I was sharing my screen. So we have seen like trillions of dollars being invested into the digital transformation, right? Like what's happening with that, like DT, right? Like there's a lot of risk factors getting involved because like too many process changes comes in across people, process, and technology. As humans, we focus on getting the job done, but like most times what we do is like we forget the critical aspects when it comes to the development lifecycle, which is the security aspect, the quality aspect, and which is kind of afterthought at this point in time, like in most of the places. Understandably, like it's right because the priority is different, like when it comes to the management, but somebody has to own the security aspect of it, and it's going to be very hard with the market that we have, because like if you take an average across the globe, like you have one security person to 100 developers. How come like one security person can help 100 developers at the same time, like dealing with a lot of the security challenges that we run into, especially with the cloud engineering, the cloud transformation, the digital transformation, and more to it, like now we got the AI bandwagon right now, where people are getting into AI, not knowing like what they are putting into the models, and it's going to cause a lot of security risk and issues when it comes to the development lifecycle, right? So along with that, like there are other challenges for the engineering organization that face every day, right? Like one is too many tools, little automation. When I say too many tools, you take like a technology stack of like Node.js, AngularJS deploying into cloud. Your tools are going to be different. And if you're going with Java, and if you're going with like SaaS-based application development or COTS-based application development, the tools are going to change with the plethora of tools available in the market. It's going to be very, very complex for somebody to put together best practice around like how a secure software development lifecycle needs to be built. With that, what's going to happen is you need to deploy more resources, and it's going to be like complex delivery. And then like finally, you basically scramble to get the visibility. That's because one is the learning curve. Another one is like understanding the current process, understanding the future process with respect to digital transformation. It's going to get more and more cumbersome for the team to build this one. And with that, security is an afterthought always, because you have so many security life cycles within a DevOps, DevSecOps pipeline, right? One is how do you basically like bring the best practice around secure coding, like while the developer like builds it on the local laptop, pushing it through IDE to VS Code or like IntelliJ to your GitHub repository, or Bitbucket or Azure DevOps, whatever that is. The second one is static code analysis. The third one is dynamic code analysis. And then if you are into cloud container-based deployment, then container scan. And once deployed, you need to continuously monitor your containers that is running in production to see like, is there any vulnerability attacks coming in? So there's so many challenges there, and it's going to get more complex when it comes to digital transformation. What's happening with that is there are two markets we see today. One is do-it-yourself, another one is black box. With do-it-yourself, we pay billions in terms of like resources, the tools, and then the open source, and the complexity is going to increase day by day. The problem with do-it-yourself, I have done do-it-yourself in the past. The problem with that is we're going to build what is needed for today. We will not basically think about like next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years on the scalability aspect, on the availability aspect, because that's not the problem that we are facing today with the priorities coming in. I want to get things done for today, not for tomorrow. And the second one is the black box. Black box, the biggest problem we have is you will have no control on the product and you'll be forced to tweak the process that you already put in like years and months, which in turn will cause demotivation due to a lot of additional work and take away the flexibility, and most important, take away the developer experience, right? So that is going to be the key challenge when you look at it from the do it yourself and the black box, and it's not a scalable model on these areas, and still like we pay billions. How do we basically overcome these things? That's where we came up with Opsera as a platform with 3 key pillars. One is end-to-end visibility into software supply chain. That means you will know, like in terms of the provenance, the authenticity, what is being like deployed and who is deploying it, all the audit controls, bells and whistles, and there's quality of software delivery at speed, right? Like how do you basically deliver a software at quality and then like get most out of it, like in terms of the ROI for the business, and business is going to be happy about that. And you don't have to worry about the DevOps, the DevSecOps ecosystem or the platform, and also not to worry about the tool chain that is running behind this entire ecosystem. The last one is the preventive security. Opsera offers native preventive security irrespective of tools, irrespective of services, irrespective of cloud. Will be able to bring all these 3 things like out of the box with no code and low code options. So just want to talk about the DevOps flow. Today, like the engineering teams have figured out some sort of DevOps flow. I would say 99.9% who are deploying the homegrown application. I'm not basically going to talk about the SaaS-based application or GOTS-based application, the likes of Snowflake or Salesforce or like those apps. I'm talking about the apps like AngularJS, React.js, Node.js, Java microservices, Golang. So they have figured out some sort of pipeline where like you create a Jira request and then like create a feature branch and then like commit the code, run the CI pipeline, build, deploy, do some peer review, like at the max based on the timelines that you have, and deploy it like to your environment, whatever the deployment strategy that you have. Most often I have seen people like use a basic deployment strategy, which is rolling deployment. But like if they want to go towards the HA deployment or like zero downtime deployment, it's going to get complex. And most importantly, how are you going to get the data insights? How do you know your pipeline is secure? How do you know your code is secure? How do you know you don't have any vulnerabilities? That's where the complexity comes in. And to be an like what do you say, like the high performing engineering teams, you need to basically have all the bells and whistles, right? So somebody creates an issue, the product team creates an issue in Jira, and then like you start working on the coding, and like having a product like Opsera, you don't worry about the security tools like within SaaS, DAST, container scan, deployment strategy, and then like your quality posture, integration to like any modules like AI-based testing tools. We can take care of it like with continuous integration, continuous security, continuous testing, and then continuous deployment. On top of it, you get the performance insights. The performance insights that we talk about, we not just provide the DORA KPIs, we can also provide the security posture, quality posture, and predict you like what is your current state and what is going to be your future state using the data driven. It's not going to be theoretical anymore. You can measure and you can basically get the success using Opsera's unified DevOps platform. And the best part is this flow can be applicable to any product in the market. If you are basically doing a development on a Salesforce environment, if you're doing a development on APG Gateway, if you're doing development on SnapLogic, Oracle Fusion, doesn't matter. We bring the flexibility and we bring the pipeline automation on top of it, unified insights, and that will basically power you to basically deliver more better software and then quality software to your customers with zero downtime. That's something I can assure based on the customers using our platform, based on the feedback that I have seen in G2s and like other feedbacks from our friends and families as well who are using our product. I'm going to today talk about the GitCustodian, right? Like that's going to be the crux of the conversation. So one example that I have seen in the past, right? Like during my past webinars and speaking sessions, was looking into NIST and Department of Defense data. So I'm just going to throw some numbers here. So there are like 11,000 critical vulnerabilities that is available in the market and 19,000 overall critical and high vulnerabilities. Average 50 new vulnerabilities being introduced in a day across the globe. And there are 4,300 low and medium vulnerability. It can basically blow up like a high critical vulnerability anytime, just like what you have seen in the Log4j, right? Just to go back in time, like 2020, the COVID period, I don't want to talk about the COVID period, but what happened is people started working in like remote silos. And with that, what happened is 4,000 worst critical vulnerabilities being introduced. And nobody knows how to basically fix it. The tool chains available in the market, they're trying to fix as much as they can, but still that is exists in the market today. And 2021, it gotten worse. It increased to 600% in cybercrime. And it is going to continue to increase with AI because that's going to power the hackers. They're going to basically find a way to hack into the system by identifying loopholes, and that's going to cause more issues. And the biggest thing that blew me away by looking at the numbers, it takes about 280 days on an average to identify a breach. When I say identify a breach, for instance, somebody got into your like container that's running on your production, and you're trying to find out like how they basically got into the container, because some developer might have basically accidentally put in the AWS access key or Azure key, the tenant ID, subscription ID, or some sort of like Google Cloud key or like any private cloud key into your source code. They might have got that information. They might be running the GPUs for Bitcoin mining, or they can also use it to intrude into your pipelines to basically like hack into your entire application. And we have seen that like in the Sunburst, like where like a lot of the accounts got impacted 2-3 years back. So that's something like it was mind blowing for me. It was scary for me, especially like if you're basically responsible for building a product or like managing a product, you need to basically bring some best practices within your developer community. How do you basically do that without impacting their current process? That's where Opsera introduced the GitCustodian. We will be able to help you out to have the secure software development lifecycle. That means we can basically scan your repositories on commit and identify if any of your developer has put in any sensitive data like secret code, password, or like tokens, or like PII data like SSNs or emails, the first name, last name, or like your GDPR data. We'll be able to identify it instantly and we'll be able to give the report. And developer doesn't have to worry about it. This is something we can run in the backend automatically on a schedule basis. The best part about it is we detect, we remediate, and we verify. When I say remediate, because like now you have password in your source code management, developers might ask, hey, how do I basically like take care of this? You need to have basically tell, okay, use a vault, have the secrets tokens put in the vault, and then like have it like built within the code. Now there is a challenge. Who is going to understand how Vault works? Who is basically going to bring the integration? Don't worry about that. Opsera offers Vault as well as part of the platform. Anything that you do, that's going to be through the Vault. So you can use Opsera's HashiCorp Vault, or you can bring in your own Vault, have the secrets stored there, and then like build the secure development lifecycle around your coding, right? So I'm going to talk about single pane of DevSecOps, right? This is the pipeline view that I'm going to walk through, and then like how do you basically get the insights? As I said, the entire platform of Opsera runs on the Vault, right? What do you get out of it? You basically get the compliance out of the box. No need to worry about your pipeline getting hacked, or no need to worry about the code that you're pushing is going to have some sensitive variables, a static code analysis issue, or OWASP, or like any type of security issues, and then your container security, we can take care of it. All you have to do is use our templates, connect your Git repository. Then like the moment you commit the code, your code is going to go through GitCustodian, integrated with Jira, integrated with CI, continuous testing, and then like deployment, continuous security. And you can do it across all the use cases as you see here, be it SDLC or infrastructure as a code or SaaS-based applications or APG or like SAP or Oracle-based deployments. Finally, you get insights out of it. How do you basically see like where the issues are coming from? You can identify the issues in the moment you run the scan. You don't have to wait for 280 days to identify a breach, where it is coming from, especially if you're running on a cloud. You get the governance, you get the transparency, you get the visibility. And all these things are completely templatized. I want to give another data point, right? Like, because we are all dependent on open source today, right? Like we ran a sample scan across some of the top trending GitHub repos for June 2023. We scanned like about 100 repos just to see like what we can find. We found there are 6K records, 6,000 sensitive data on the open source repositories that is out there, which is being consumed by a lot of the developers today. And again, we continue to run the scan for June and July. And what we did is we also reached out to the guardian of the open source and said like, hey, there are some like 6,000 vulnerabilities there. Will you be able to fix it? Because this might put the enterprises at risk. And then like they basically took our feedback. They were able to fix it. And after running like 10 plus times, we found the 6,000 records coming down to 204. So we will continue to do that, because there are so many open source repos coming in. And if you are using open source repos, and if you want to test it out just to make sure that you are not going to run into any risk or any issues, use Opsera GitCustodian, reach out to us. We'll be able to help you out with the product for you to run it on your local, just to make sure you're not going to hit with any security issues or risk. And you can also use it for your internal repositories as well, where we have some downloadable option available for GitCustodian, which we can share it as part of the webinar as well. So this is something like Gartner. They recently published that like Magic Quadrant for this year, and they basically put in as a honorable mention Opsera as the DevOps platform, because this is huge. Because today, like if you look into DevOps or DevSecOps platform, every product, they have their own DevOps platform. For SDLC, you have different platform, orchestration platform. For Salesforce, you have different platform. For tools like SnapLogic or Snowflake, either you have it or you don't have it. But as Opsera, one unified DevOps platform, which is huge for enterprise to adopt to a platform-based approach, so like they can basically bring in the best practices across the developers, like who are into different technologies, and also like manage your security posture, quality posture, and improve your DevOps maturity using the data points, using your own data points. That is going to be huge. And we also offer on-demand unified insights. When it comes to unified insights, we offer DORA in partnership with Google. So you get like the KPIs in terms of your lead time for changes, deployment frequency, or MTTR, and you can basically like compare and match with either with other project teams within your organization or within the developers on how they are performing, what are the bottlenecks, inefficiencies, the manual process that you have across the development cycle, how can you improve that? All these KPIs are basically going to come out of the box just by connecting your 3 tools like Jira or Git repository or any pipeline that you run on your end. We'll be able to give this KPI with actionable intelligence for you to measure and mature using the system-driven maturity that we offer. So I would like to keep it interactive. So I've been like talking for like last 25 minutes, and I would like to see if you have any questions or feedback. So like we will be able to answer that. And then like we'll move on to the demo on like to show how Opsera's GitCustodian works.
Yeah, we'll open the floor to any questions. Feel free to use the chat or raise your hand to ask a question. If not, we'll jump into the platform. Can you repeat the integrations one more time for the DevSecOps portion real quick, Vishnu?
So when it comes to DevSecOps, I'm not going to go with the tool names. I'll go with the category names, right? Because we don't care what tools that you're running, like with respect to static code analysis or your source code management scan or a dynamic code analysis or container scan. We'll be able to integrate with any tools with click of a button by integrating through the vault. That way, like you'll be able to get complete secure software supply chain for your DevOps ecosystem. On top of it, you will be able to measure your security posture and quality posture as well. Does that make sense, Arisha?
Yeah, makes sense. Let's jump into the platform.
Cool. Okay. Let me start with the insights. So imagine you have like 300 repos, 400 repos in your organization, and you want to basically see like what is your posture looking like. The moment you connect your Git repository to OAuth, like it can be Azure DevOps, it can be GitHub, it can be Bitbucket, GitLab, on-prem or cloud. Everything goes through tool registry, which is nothing but the vault that we have. And you'll be able to see the scan results instantly. So I was talking about like it takes 280 days for somebody to expose the vulnerability or the sensitive data in your cloud, right? So for instance, like if you look at it, this is a repository. Author is Rajeshwar. On the line number 43, he has a JWT token. We basically classify this as critical. And how do we classify this as critical, medium, low, and then like false positive result? Because we use Shannon entropy. Before I get into the severity side of it, let's talk about Shannon entropy. What is Shannon entropy? You might have heard about it, right? It's nothing but a measure of uncertainty or variability associated with random variables, which is nothing but the passwords or the tokens, the alphanumeric characters that we use for authentication purpose or authorization purpose. And we have the intelligence, Opsera's hummingbird, like we have an AI intelligence system behind it, which will identify, hey, this is going to be a false positive, this is low, this is medium, this is critical. And again, we'll give the flexibility to basically change the false positive into critical vulnerability, or like open a one-click Jira ticket for this particular issue to a developer who basically introduced this vulnerability and have it fixed. And next time it runs, we will be able to tell like whether they have removed the commit or they have added the commit back, or whether it's resolved or it's still in open status. And we can track the Jira ticket lifecycle as well, along with this particular vulnerability that is identified. Now, if you want to basically look at into this line number, click off this link. This will take you to the code. And we have integration to the vault here. All you have to do is take the password, inject into the vault in a couple of clicks, and then like add the URL back to the code. And you basically like remove the sensitive variables from your code automatically. It just takes like 2 minutes, 3 minutes to make it happen. And if you want to know the commit removed status, you can basically look into it, and we'll give the info, what was the commit, who basically like added it, who basically removed it, what line number of code it was, what was the severity, Jira ticket information. All this information can be obtained, and you can also download this report, send it to your application team, send it to your security team to showcase how well like you are basically managing and building the best practices around the secure coding when it comes to the software development lifecycle. Okay, this is on the GitCustodian on the task level. It can run on a daily basis, automated basis. You don't have to worry about it. What about like pipeline? How do we do that? So that's where like we introduced like this GitCustodian as part of the pipeline as well. So you can basically go into the pipeline, add this as a step, and within the step, you can basically set up the threshold, right? For instance, like I'm going to say DevSecOps template, which I'm using it for my team, right? When I click DevSecOps pipeline, the workflow is built automatically, and the Git scan, I can basically set up all the thresholds that I want. If you want certain secrets to be excluded, or if you want to basically skip the emails or set the custom entropy, which I talked about 3.5 to 5, 3.5 being like highly sensitive, it basically scan every nook and corner for any data. For instance, like you have typed something called password, we will highlight that. Or if you don't want to basically highlight those things, you can basically increase the entropy to like 4 or 4.2 or 4.3. So like you can reduce the noise, and you can basically like drive the culture by improving the process slowly, not by like showing like hundreds and thousands of like vulnerabilities at the same time. And once you set it up, and this pipeline will be connected to your Git repository, the moment the commit comes in, the PR gets created, we will make sure it goes through the Git scan, it runs through the SaaS, and it can be any tool. Like in this case, I have Sonar, I have Poverty, and then unit test, and then we create an automated PR. This PR, we will basically write all the 4 steps, basically saying GitCustodian ran completely. We found like 0 issues, no secrets, tokens, password, PI data found. So you're good to go on Git scan. And we'll do the same thing for Sonar, where we'll basically look at OASP, the malware, or like anything on the reliability rating, maintainability rating. You can basically like see within the PR itself. Now, all developer has to do is, or the reviewer has to do is review the coding from the functional aspect. And once they approve it, the pipeline can go to the next step with respect to the container scan or dynamic analysis or continuous deployment strategy, whatever that you have. And all these things that I talked about across the DevOps ecosystem, you can manage it from here. So for example, today you're using Sonar and you want to set up the threshold, you can set it up here. You don't have to learn the Sonar cube. Tomorrow you're changing to Coverty or like White Hat, or you're moving to Black Duck, or you're moving to like check marks. All you have to just replace the tool endpoint, set up the threshold, and you're good to go. That's how easy is our platform. And this can be done across any use cases, not just for SDLC. It can be done for infrastructure as a code for your Terraform-based integration. It can be done for Salesforce. It can be done for your database deployments or your Snowflake-based deployments, APG deployments. So the practice that we want to bring it to the developer community is improve the developer experience, do not take away the flexibility they have. On top of it, give them the tools that is required for the audit, legal, and security teams to make sure we are not putting the enterprise or the customers who are using the product at risk by having a secure DevSecOps pipeline ecosystem. Now, you also get the pipeline-based metrics as well here, which I'll show you. So this will basically tell you how many repositories that you have, and then like how many issues that you have identified, and it also gives you the trending. And when I click this total number of issues, I'll be able to see, okay, this particular project, and like they have 1 issues, and you can basically click this information. It will tell you the author information, the critical, and then like what is the commit they made, what was the commit date. They have introduced the AWS access token. This is the path for hackers to get into your cloud, to basically hack your application or like run the GPUs for the Bitcoin mining, and it can basically put you at risk with the cost with respect to the billing. Also, it can basically impact the branding as well. Opsera can help you protect you basically right from your code commit to production deployment, and will be able to provide the tracking, governance, security posture, quality posture, and you'll be able to mature and bring the secure development practice organically without enforcing something on the developers. That's a motive of Opsera. That's what we have been doing with a lot of the enterprises who are working with us. And when I say enterprises, I'm talking about Fortune 10 to Fortune 500 enterprises who are using our product. Looks like there's a question and answer. Do we have a trial version available along with some code repo that has security which can?
It says, I just want to repeat it real quick in case anyone else can't see it. Is there a trial version available along with some code repo that has security vulnerabilities in which we can apply Opsera to see dashboards? Go ahead, Vishnu.
Absolutely, yes. We do have a downloadable GitCustodian that is available that can run on Mac. You can download it, you can run it, and that data is going to reside only on your Mac instance. It will not go out. And if you want to basically try it out, our enterprise grade product, you can also try our free trial, which we can offer it, and bring in your like sample code repositories or connect to the open source repositories, and you can find out yourself like how well like we are basically managing it on the task level, and also like use it within the pipelines as well.
Great question. We'll follow up to make sure you get what Vishnu was referring to right after the webinar. Any other questions? Anything you'd like us to dive into further? Okay. Vishnu, you want to bring us home?
Yep. By the way, like I would like to add another point. So if you are into migration from one source code management to another source code management, like Bitbucket to GitHub or GitLab to GitHub or like GitHub to Bitbucket, or like legacy tools like Subversion to GitHub or like ClearCase to GitHub, let us know. We do have an utility tool. What we do is before you migrate, we'll be able to help you with GitCustodian integration, which will basically give you a good known state when you go into a new source code management tool, and you will know the risk, the mitigation that you will have to plan as part of the migration. That's something available out of the box as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. We'll follow up with the recording and all the applicable links. If you have any questions, feel free to just reply to the email that sent you the webinar information, and we'll have the recording up shortly. Thank you, Vishnu.
Thank
Everyone
you,
have a
everybody.
good
Have a
rest of your
great day. Looking forward to talk to you again.